Hi there, and welcome to our first video on comparative religious studies. Comparative religious studies. My name is Liam, and I am so excited to be sharing about this topic with you. So let's dive straight in. What is comparative religious studies, and why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, let's go to my trusted resource, the encyclopedia. The encyclopedia says that comparative religious studies is the study of religions concerned with the systematic comparison of the doctrines and practices of the world's religions. Basically, this means that in comparative religious studies, we're looking at the religions of the world, how they're similar, how they're different, and then learning from that. And that's what this is all about. So now, why does it matter? Why should we spend time learning about comparative religious studies? I think for two reasons. One, because it's interesting and fun to learn about. And two, it matters because I believe that because I am a student, I believe that all students have a responsibility to learn about the religions of the world if we are to create a safer planet in the future and in the 21st century. I believe that's our responsibility to be better global citizens. It's important that we understand the world's religions if we're going to deal with the issues of the 21st century. So I think that's our responsibility. So, and that will hopefully enable us to prevent violence and conflict. And this is really what today's video is about. Let's look at, and what I'm going to be doing is showing you previous examples, just a few examples throughout history of how history and or how religion and religious differences have caused violence and conflict all over the planet. So let's start out with a recent example. The 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center towers. This one does not take much explanation because it's in our recent history. It's in our recent history. This terrible, terrible, just horrific event. But I want to move on to some more historical examples. That one was just to get us in, but I want to go back a few more 100 years, and I want to go to the Crusades. The Crusades. From the late 11th century to the late 13th century, we have the Crusades. And the Crusades, it's this movement from the Christians to push the Muslims out of the Holy Land and out of Europe. Now, this movement, it was a terrible, very violent movement. And it started with the first crusade, which was proclaimed by Pope Urban II. And one of the major reasons for this first crusade was to restore Christian access to holy places in and near Jerusalem. So the reason for this terrible, violent, almost 200, the beginning of this 200-year violent period of our history was because Christians wanted to regain access to a certain piece of area. So we have religions fighting against one another. So there's a good example of religious conflict in our history. Now, if we go to another example, here is the medieval Inquisition. The medieval Inquisition. The medieval Inquisition is this institution set up by the Roman Catholic Church to punish those who share beliefs that oppose the church, right? And so on May 15th, 1252, Pope Innocent IV, that's this character right here, Pope Innocent IV, he authorizes the use of torture by inquisitors. This is terrible. And this is caused by differences in beliefs. We have the Roman Catholic Church, which has certain religious beliefs, and with the medieval Inquisition acting on their behalf. And then we have others who disagree with the Roman Catholic Church. And that conflict causes something so brutal as torture. And I find it rather ironic that the name of the Pope who started this use of torture in the medieval Inquisition, his name was Pope Innocent IV. Pope Innocent IV. Now on to another example. The persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire. The persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire. Before the legalization of Christianity in the Roman Empire, which happened in 313 AD, we had the killing of Christians in the Roman Empire. Here we see a depiction of a packed coliseum, a packed stadium with thousands of onlookers waiting for the highlight of the show, which is to see the Christians being killed in front of everyone. And this is a terrible event because the Romans believe in certain things and have certain religious beliefs or certain beliefs in what they believe about religion, and then Christians have certain beliefs about their religion, and when those religions don't work, then we have something so brutal as downright murder of the Christians, and this is very, very sad. Now I want to move to a more modern example, something that's a challenge we're still plagued with today, and that is Israel and the occupied territories, or Israel and Palestine, otherwise known as the Holy Land. Now, what I want to do is pull out to see the full map here. And here we can see in the tan, this is Israel. All of this is Israel. And here in the gray, we have Palestine. This here is the West Bank of Palestine, and this is the Gaza Strip of Palestine. So we have Palestine over here, West Bank, Gaza Strip. Now all of this is Israel. And so this piece of real estate right here, the Holy Land, has been fraught with tension, with religious tension for centuries. And today that tension continues. Now why does that tension continue? Well, we have the Muslims in Palestine and the Jews in Israel, and we can really understand both perspectives. So if we go down here, we can see we have these continuing conflicts. Why is that? Well, from an Israeli standpoint, they have had experienced centuries of oppression with events such as events so horrific as the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were murdered. And out of these oppressive events, not just the Holocaust, but even before that, oppressive events, the movement of Zionism was birthed, and it was birthed by this man named Theodor Herzl. And it's this movement of Zionism, and it's this movement to reclaim the Holy Land and create the Holy Land as the true homeland of the true Jewish state. And so that is why the Israelis, that's why the Jewish moved into what is now Israel, and they moved into the Holy Land. But the Palestinians don't like that. Why? Because in the 1948 war with Israel, they lost, 750,000 Palestinians were made to become refugees because Israel took over that much more land. And 418 Palestinian villages were destroyed. And this is the kind of conflict that we're seeing, and we have to find solutions to these problems. And we're not saying that the Israelis are right or wrong. We're not saying the Palestinians are right or wrong. But we need to figure out a solution so that it's, because ultimately I think that we all realize that the Israelis and the Palestinians deserve just as good a chance to live prosperous lives. So with that, I want to say thank you for coming to today's video, and in the next video, we're going to be looking at the major religions of the world and looking at how those major religions are going to evolve over the next coming decades, and we're going to be looking at the entire map of the world, where the world's religions are, and that's going to be very exciting. So hope to see you in that video, and until then, have a great life.